Well, very good morning, students. So, I welcome you in this class again. Today, we are going to have lecture number 9. So, today's lecture is very important lecture. Today, we will learn the different barriers in communication. As we know, the communication is very good thing, and efficient communication can be happen in very good situations. What? For any reason, there may be few barriers also, by which this communication may be not effectively happen. So for that, what are the reasons? So they are very important to understand by us. So today this lecture is on that particular things, that what are the barriers that are hindering the communication process. So basically in this course we will learn about linguistic and non-linguistic barriers, how these linguistic and non-linguistic barriers are hindering to the communication process. So this is very important session. So let's go and understand both the barriers in communication. First of all, let's understand what do you mean by the barrier, the term barrier. Barrier means the term barrier pertains to the obstacle in communication or any limitations, whether they are physical, social, economical, psychological, environmental, or technological, which generally hinder the communication process are called as barrier of communication. So any reason for what that communication process hinders or interrupts or disturbs, that is called the barrier in communication. So here these are the two important barriers in communication, that may be a linguistic barriers or non-linguistics. So what are the linguistic and non-linguistic barriers? Let's understand. Now here we will try to understand when we want to connect someone and we did not understand the message, means what somebody want to tell and what we are getting or what we are understanding. So this type of situation also comes under in the communication process. So this particular events called as a behavior, that is called a arc of distortion, means when someone wants to connect with one thing, what he is actually saying something else that he did not intend. Sometimes such type of situations happens. So this is called arc of distortion. This distortion may be result of some error in any of the communication channel. So that is also called the arc of distortion. That is very important to understand. And if we talk about the different examples of the barrier in communication, that may be a lack of proper style. Means if there is not proper style of communication, then audience will not get the proper message. If somebody is just talking in very casual way, he is not putting eye contact on audience, then definitely the audience will not pay attention towards the speaker. So this the style or how that particular person is talking, what is the speed, how many words he is just speaking in a minutes, and what the tone that particular speaker is using, and how much that speaker is speaking, voice, clarity of voice, fog honks, and these all the style can be used for the proper style. If you are using the proper style, then definitely there will be effective communication. If you are not using a proper style, then that may create a barrier in communication. The message flow will not be accurate. Lack of feedback. Yes, if somebody just start talking on any topic and he is just trying talk and talk, but there is no feedback, that means it also create a problem. If somebody is understanding or not understanding, are you heard by audience or not, such type of the feedback must be reached up to the speaker. And if we are not putting attention over the feedback or we are not considering the feedback of audience, that may create a problem in communication. That's why it is a part of barrier of communication. Content is not related to audience requirement. If suppose anybody is just putting his speech for the children and he is talking on policies and all, that will be not fruitful for that particular children, for students. So for children and students, the matter should be related to any story or any jovial or any that is good for the children, so they can understand, and otherwise that will be a problem for understanding. And failure of maintain dual communication. Yes, dual communication is, suppose we are flowing the different informations and we are not trying to receive the feedback from the audience, and we are not let them speak on any feedback or any suggestions. So that type of communication also create a problem or barrier in communication, means that communication will not be effectively done. Now we are coming to the points. So what is the linguistic barrier? So we are going to learn about the linguistic barrier. Means it is already evident from the word itself. Linguistic means related to language, means the language barrier. The language barrier is one of the main barrier that limits effective communication. How it affects? Language is a most commonly employed tool of communication, because without language we cannot communicate. So for in communication we are using different language in different parts of the country, locality, international, national, or likewise, means everywhere different languages are there. So people are just try to communicate in different languages. So for that, understanding the language is very important. The fact that each major region has its own language is one of the barrier to effective communication. Suppose, for example, the Hindi speaking people cannot communicate and understand people of Tamil language or Telugu speaking people, or vice versa. Means if somebody is just talking in Tamil language and somebody is from the Hindi background, he cannot understand the Tamil. And same time, if somebody is from the Telugu language, from Telugu region, if he he don't understand the Hindi language and a lecture is given by the Hindi people, he will not be able to understand the whole message. So this type of the barriers are called the linguistic barrier, because of language barrier, because of the locality of that particular area, or terms, dialects used by that particular speakers. So these are called the linguistic barriers. Now we are coming to the non-linguistic barriers. Means all the barriers, they are not related to language, means other than language, whatever or due to which reasons that communication process is just interrupts or get hindered, that they are called the non-linguistic barriers. Means they are those not related to language or words. These includes maybe body language, maybe facial expressions or gestures. So what are they actually? Let's see. These are the different examples of non-linguistic barrier. First is the body language. Here you are seeing the body language. The body language can indicate resistance to a message, such as crossing arms, turning away, or having one's head down. This shows that that particular person is not interested in your lecture, is not interested in your talk, means he is not getting your message, or that message not is having importance for that particular audience. So in this way you can guess that that particular body language is saying what, either that is interesting body language or non-interesting language or non-reactive language, or that is avoidable or what. So in this way the body language plays very important role to understand the to make the good communication or effective communication. Now we are coming to the facial expressions. Here facial expressions can be a barrier, especially when they indicate negative emotions. If suppose somebody is just giving lecture or speaking or delivering his lecture in front of audience or students, and students are not paying attention towards the teacher and they are making their face negative faces, means pertain to not showing interest in the lecture. So this type of the situation may create a barrier, create a problem over there, means the interest of a speaker will be diminished, will be reduced. So this facial expression works like that, and in this way this facial expression may be a barrier in communication. Cultural differences. Number 3, cultural difference. So number 3, this cultural differences means it can create a non-verbal variable, especially when the sender or receiver don't fully understand each other's culture. So culture is very important. There are different cultures in India. We talk about the cultures, means Hindu, Muslim, Sikh, Ishai and all, Christians and all. These people having the different cultures. So each and every individual cannot understand culture. So for that, the interculture information is very important. One should know all the cultures, then he can understand the message or he can make the communication accordingly. Point 4th, we talk about the physical disability. Yes, how these physical disability also create the barrier in communication. Suppose somebody is deaf ear, he is not in position to hear. In that way, that communication will not be completed. And this may be also a setting that also may be creating a great barrier, and somebody just there are a lot of noise is going on, that is also a barrier. So number 5, that's a noise barrier, it is called again. So these can be physical, psychological or cultural and can be disrupt the flow of information. So this is also a noise barrier. Suppose we are going to give a lecture somewhere, and that particular place or locality is just nearby any aerodrome, that nearby any bus stop or and somewhat railway station, then there will be lot of noises, lot of sounds will be there. So this sound may distract to the students and we cannot pay attention on hearing the message that is coming from the lecture. So in this way, this noise is also creates a great barrier in communication. Now we are coming to the next point, that is the lack of clarity. Yes, over complicating sentences, using ambiguous words and rambling can make it difficult for the listeners to understand what's being said. We should always try to communicate in very simple words or very simple language, so that each and every person can understand you. If you are going to make exaggeration of the words, ambiguous words or very difficult words, then each and every person cannot understand. So for that, it's very important in communication, first of all, we should try to understand the level of a audience. If audience are very much educated, you can use the difficult words in your communication. But if the audience are from the simple backgrounds, a normal background, then we should try to communicate in very simple language that can be understood by the audience easily, simple words. So that then the communication will be more effective rather than vice versa. So here we are just try to give the examples of other communication barriers, means other than there may be a bad weather. If weather is not there, the lot of wind current is so high and sound is creating, and there is a rainy season, or in that particular time or the season, the weather can create a hindrance in communication. You cannot send your message or your voice to the audience whom you want to talk somebody or you want to call somebody. So this type of barriers are called the bad weather barriers. Lack of horizontal flow of ideas. Suppose if we want to talk any topic and we are just lacking in ideas, in that way that also distract the communication process. Semantic problems, misinterpretation of the words, phrases, symbols by the audience. You want to say something else and audience are trying to understanding something else or misinterpreting that particular words, then also it creates a problem. Lack of leadership, if a speaker is not in position to lead all the audiences, he is not positioned to get the attraction or the attention of all the students, then also it may be a problem over there. Lack of enthusiasm, yes, if somebody is talking in not good mood, he is not enthusiastic, he is showing his dull face or dull body posture, then again the reaction will be vice versa. Student will also not pay attention on that particular speaker. Dissatisfaction, disinterest in someone's job and action, then also the communication will be less. Inability to listen to others, if you are not paying attention to listen others, then he or she both will not be attention properly each others. Communication styles, yes, obviously. Lack of transparency and trust, if you are not trustworthy person, people will not pay attention on you, they will not listen you, they will not make contact you. So this type of things also may be a barrier. Then conflicts in the workplace, yes, at many places, if we are having conflict in others, we generally don't make interaction, we don't make communication each other, we just stop communication or sharing our ideas, vision or whatever. So these type of the things are very important to understand how this communication may be effective and how people can do a better communication if they will take care of these all points in their mind during the interaction, either at their professional places, either they are at home or in social gatherings. At each and every place, these skills will work a lot, and while learning these all the barriers, and you can improvise your communication skills. Let's understand what is the difference between linguistic and non-linguistic barrier. These are the different barriers. We came to know how these barriers are important to understand in communication process. And the barrier word is very clear. Earlier I already described it, I already defined it. Barrier means the impediments or the hindrances or the reason for what the communication process get disturbed, or they can affect the communication process. So that is called the barriers. And the difference between linguistic and non-linguistic barriers lies in their nature and the way they hinder effective communication. So linguistic barriers, as we know, that deals with the language of the communication, in which language that particular person is communicating the message, which language he or she is using during the transformation of the message. So that is the linguistic barriers, and how these all barriers hindrances the communication process. So let's understand here. So first of all, we go through the linguistic barriers. What are these barriers? If we will define the linguistic barriers, means these barriers relate to language differences that prevent understanding between parties. Means when two parties are there, but they are not having the same language, then the communication process will not be fruitful, and the mutual understanding or the mutual communication will not be effective. So this will be called as a linguistic barrier. This situation will be called linguistic barrier, means because of language problem, both people are not in position to understand each other or convey their message in each other. So this is the definition of linguistic barriers. And if we talk about the examples, then that means use of different languages, dialects, slangs, jargon or complex vocabulary that the listener or receiver does not understand. These are the example of linguistic barrier. Either that may be a language, that may be a dialect, that may be a word, that may be a complex vocabulary. These all are linguistic barriers, which are responsible to stop the good communication or misunderstanding between both the parties. And if we talk about the impact, means these barriers can lead to misinterpretation, confusion, or inability to convey the message accurately. So this may be impact of linguistic barriers. So that means we should learn what are the different linguistic barriers are there, or as per their study we should maintain the communication process. For example, as we know, whenever we travel to abroad and we go from India to another countries like Europe and all, but there people, the language, they are interacting different language. The language may be Japanese, Chinese and American and all, so English and likewise. If we don't know that particular language, we cannot communicate. In that sense, what happens, non-verbal communication works there. Means you can make indications for asking something, for providing something, for getting help or and all. You can ask something by the help of non-verbal communication. What if you are making a verbal communication, for that the language information is very important. You must know the language of that particular individual. Then you can make a good communication. You can interact with them properly. Now let's understand what are the non-linguistic barriers. What are the non-linguistic barriers? Means here it is very clear from the words itself. Means all the barriers of communication that is not related to language. Means these barriers are the factors other than the language that hinder the effective communication. They are the non-linguistic barriers. What are the examples of these barriers? These barriers may be cultural differences, emotional states like stress or anger. If somebody is in a stress condition, if you want to make a humorous talk with them, he will not be involved in that. If somebody is in anger and if you want to make him calm, it will not be possible. So these type of things may create a communication barriers. Physical disability like that hearing or impairment. If somebody is hearing impairment, he is not in position to hear you, deaf ear is there, then verbal communication will not work there. For deaf ear person, you would need to use non-verbal communication, indications, gestures, postures by which he can recognize you or he can understand your message. Noise means suppose there is a lot of noise. Suppose we are talking somebody on phone at railway platforms and lot of noise is going on. The siren is there, announcement is there, and the sound of horns and all are there. Definitely it will interrupt your communication or your flow of information or message will not be reached directly up to you. So that is called the noise. Followed by noise is also sometimes created by the natural weather conditions. Suppose any storm is going on, heavy rains is going on, and likewise heavy wind current is there. In that sense also the noise can be generated and it will hinder your communication process. Distractions, somebody is not paying attention, that distraction is also sometime can create. You are looking at somewhere or you are paying attention somebody else and you are talking somebody else, that will not make a proper linear flow of information. So it's also create a problem in the communication, that will be part of non-linguistic barrier. Or differences in perceptions in attitude. If there are two people, they are having different perceptions, then again it will create problem. They will not be agree with your voice, with your subject, with your message, and if you will try to bound him to listen, they will not pay attention. It will be a harsh situation, it will be a difficult situation to make him understand. And attitude is also sometimes matters a lot. if you are a positive person trying to be positive with someone, and somebody is with a negative attitude, it will not match with your perceptions. So attitude you also create sometimes problems in the communication. So that will be a part of non-linguistic barriers. So these are the different example of non-linguistic barriers. So here you can understand better way. If we talk about the impact, what will be the impact of these non-linguistic barriers in communication? Means they can cause a misunderstanding. If we will not study these all emotions, these non-linguistic barriers, how these people works in the society and how these impact our communication, then definitely it will create a cause or it will be a cause for misunderstanding, misinterpretations, or can reduce the effectiveness of the message delivery even when language is clear. And after having a good language, after having a good communication, and if you have not gone through these all type of the non-linguistic barriers, if you have not taken care of these all non-linguistic barriers, again the communication will not be effective. So that's why we should learn, we should read, we should understand these all linguistic barriers very well in process of communication. If you want become a good communicator, we should know these all things. Now the question is that how do linguistic and non-linguistic barriers affects communication? So first of all, how the linguistic barrier affects the communication? The language differences. Yeah, when the number 1, if we talk about the language barriers, what are they? They are number 1, language differences. How these will affect? Yes, let's understand. When two parties speak different languages or dialects, the misunderstanding can be occur due to unfamiliar vocabulary, grammar or punctuations. That may be a reason. Number 2, jargon and technical terms. Jargon and technical terms here, the use of specialized language or jargon that others are not familiar with can hinder the comprehension. It also can hinder the comprehension. Number 3, that is the accent and pronunciation. We talk about the accent and pronunciation, that is also very important. Variations in pronunciation or accent can lead to a misunderstanding, misinterpretation or difficulty in understanding the spoken message. For example, there are several persons, they are having the different level of accent, pitch or pronunciation. Few are very fast in speaking, few are very slow in speaking, few having very high pitch, few having the low pitch. So as per the different pronunciations or an accent of the speaking, people sometimes becomes difficult to understand. And few speakers are very clear in their speaking, they are using very small terminology, they are using very simple terms, simple words that easily can be get or grasped by the audiences. So these type of people always get part of effective communicator. They becomes effective communicator and they get appreciated by the audience always. And few are talking in the same way, talking for the same matter, and they are using very jargons, very hard words, very difficult words, and they are using slangs, phrases, idioms and all. So because of that, sometimes they becomes very difficult to understand by the common people, and people doesn't like these type of the speakers and they try to avoid to listen them. So that's why the pronunciation and the accent is also very important to understand the communication process. Literacy level, it also affects. Yes, how? The differences in reading and writing skills affect the ability to interpret the written communication accurately. Yes, so if people are more educated and they are having ability to interpret written communication, then only it can give you better message. Few people are having very good writing skills, they are writing very golden words and golden writings, they receive sometime better marks or better inspiration in the society or in the teaching or process or likewise. So, that skill also required. Literacy for the writing skills, for improving the reading and writing skills, it improves the ability of person to become a good communicator. And how the non-linguistic barriers, these are the, we talk about the non-linguistic barriers. These are the non-linguistic barriers like cultural differences. You can understand the variations in the cultural norms, values, customs can cause misunderstanding and often participants in not appropriately managed. Body language gesture, non-verbal cues, posture, they also can create a problem in the good communication. And if we talk about the emotional barriers is also important, like personal feeling like anger and mistrust or anxiety can hinder open and honest communication. And if we talk about the physical barriers, that environmental factors such as noise, distance, technical issues like the poor audio, video quality can disrupt the message. So, these may be a non-linguistic barrier in communication. Perception and attitude, always preconceived notions or biases maybe distorts the interpretation of message and lead to miscommunication. So, these are the few non-linguistic barriers that also hinders our communication process. How to overcome these linguistic non-linguistic barrier in communication? To overcome from these problems, we would need, first of all, for overcoming the linguistic barriers, use simple and clear language. It is related to language. So, here we will talk about the what language will be needed during the communication. So, always use the simple and clear language, avoid jargons, idioms and complex vocabulary. Speak straightforward terms that your audience can understand. Learn basic language skills. If communicating with the speakers of a different language, learn some basics, phrases or key vocabulary to show efforts to build the rapport. Employ visual aids. Use charts, diagrams, pictures or videos to support the verbal communication and clarify the message. So, these ideas will help you to overcome from the linguistic barriers. Use translator or interpreters. Nowadays these facilities are available. When it is necessary, engage professional interpreters or facilitate accurate communication. And encourage feedback, or ask questions and confirmation to ensure the message has been sent or understood correctly. So, feedback is very important in all walk of life. Write clearly. When we are communicating in writing, use concise sentence, proper grammar and formatting to enhance the readability. So, this will help you to overcome from the linguistic barriers. Now, how we will overcome from the non-linguistic barriers? For overcoming from the non-linguistic barriers, we would need to follow these all points. First of all, be aware of cultural differences. Understand cultural norms, gestures and customs that may influence the communication styles. We should know what are the different cultures or customs that can hinder our language or our communication. We should know about that. Observe non-verbal cues, means pay attention to body language, facial expressions, eye contact, postures and to ensure your own non-verbal signals are appropriate, means which are appropriate, we should take care of them. Adjust your non-verbal communication, means mirror the appropriate gesture and expression of your audience for fostering the rapport. Yes, so that is very important. And if we talk about the another point, that is create a comfortable environment to ensure the setting conducive to open the communication and free from the distraction and discomfort. Active listening, that is also important. So, attentiveness through nodding, maintaining eye contact and providing the verbal and acknowledgements. Build rapport and trust. Establish a reasoned, peaceful, respectful, empathetic relationship to encourage open dialogue. Be patient and flexible. Recognize misunderstanding may occur, and be willing to clarify and repeat message. That will help you out to overcome from the linguistic barrier. So these all are points are to be taken care of, so that we can become, we will take care of these all points, and we can improve our communication skills, and verbal and non-verbal, and we can also tackle the barriers in communication, both the linguistic barrier either or non-linguistic barriers, to become a good communicator, to become a successful communicator in the society, and effective communicator in the society. And these are the part of your communication skills, and we must learn all the things. We try to practice it in our life. Observation is very important, and repetition of ideas, observation, and experiencing the ideas, and these, and then definitely you will improve your these all qualities, attributes, and a positive attitude towards the learning, followed by the communication process. So this is all. Now we are coming to the discussion. Now we have already discussed about the different communication barriers, and what are the actually barrier means, what is the concept of barriers, and the linguistic barrier, non-linguistic barrier, other barriers, and the all type of the communication barriers we have already discussed. So here there may be question asked you like that, what do you mean by linguistic barrier in communication? Then you have to write what is the concept of linguistic barrier and what is the example. And you may ask question like, what do you mean by the non-linguistic barrier in communication? Then you can give the information related to non-linguistic barrier, what are they, what are the example of there, and followed by there may be another way of questioning, that describe the non-linguistic barriers in communication with examples. So in this way you may ask different questions, and you can solve these questions with these lectures. And if we talk about the practicals, yeah, observation is very important. You have to experience these linguistic and non-linguistic barrier in communication in your daily life. And if you are at and posted at any place where you don't know the language of that particular region, you should try to understand, to learn that particular language to make a convenient communication. And if you want to more study on that particular points, how these communications are there, you can go through the social media, you can go come for Google search, and different sites are there. You can retrieve these information, followed by the literature, the different books, GL Ray, I am just giving the example, and there are several books of communication skills and personality developments. You can go through that all to enhance your understanding and maturity for making the effective communication. So this is all for this session. So thank you all for patience hearing. Thank you all. Namaskar.